And would I ever consider making a vlogging channel when I become more famous? Yes, that is a definite yes. I want to make a vlogging channel one day. Don't know when, but I will make it. I don't care if this vlogging channel lasts me for 40 years. It's gonna be made, and I'm going to talk about the most ridiculous things. McFlippy, who asks, I want to know what makes you this spiritual and more intellectual outlook on life than any other people I know. I don't really think I'm very intellectual, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I mean, of course, that's a lie. I know my own self. I know what I'm worth, but I'm very humble, you know. So I will never admit something like that, even though I know that I'm very intellectual. But I won't admit it. You see, it's very complicated. But what makes me spiritual? Let's see. Well, I was born knowing who Christ is. You know what I'm saying? I know who God is because of experiences when I was young. I know people that are like I know that people that are agnostic or atheist or other religion probably will not agree with me, and that's fine. I'm not saying to change your views, or you know, I'm not just asking don't change my views, don't question my views. But you know, back when I was a kid, okay, I had this very bad throat infection, you know, and I didn't have any money for an operation, and I was going to die within that week. So right, I was on my deathbed, and like everything seemed over, you know, and there were just people praying, but nothing seemed to work, and I was not sad, you know, I was ready to die, I was ready, and my mom prayed for like an entire day, you know, she prayed for an entire day, and I felt the holiness of the prayers, you know. And I was in bed. I mean, she may not know this, but I was praying as well, you know. And it was just crazy, because like it's only when I felt my mom's prayer that I truly felt like I wanted a connection to life, you know. And when I prayed from the heart, earnestly, more harder than I've ever prayed in my life. And I just felt like I knew what I was thinking. I knew everything. I had a moment of clarity right then and there. And it's like I felt a corona around my head, and I could speak with God. Like I didn't hear his voice. I'm not claiming I heard his voice or that I know that I was talking to him, but I felt like I had a connection with him, and that what I was saying he could hear. Because you know, a lot of people don't understand that prayer, you know, sometimes people say, why don't God answer your prayer? You know, there's a lot. If you believe in God, then you obviously believe in the devil. So you know that there are lots of demons around, like demons that inhibit the earth and demons that stop prayers from going up to heaven, you know. That's always how I envision it, you know, because that's the only way it makes sense. Sometimes prayers could be too personal. Sometimes, you know, there's people say there's a greater plan and all this, but the way I see it, more logically and not logically at the same time, like in the atmosphere, before prayers reach this certain invisible field called heaven, you know, there's a wall of demons that just surround this earth because it's shrouded in so much evil. And when prayers, something that's holy, something that has light, goes to try to reach heaven, it's very visible by these demons, and so they quash it and they don't allow it to reach heaven. And I think that's why prayers doesn't reach heaven. But when you have spiritual connection, you have angels that guide your prayers and fight, and you know, fight off these demons, and then allow the prayer safe passage. It's almost like your prayer is a vessel, you know. So enough of that philosophy and religious theocracy shit aside, I really think that it makes me spiritual because I felt that corona around my head was a direct link to God, you know. And I asked him for salvation. I asked him to help me, to let me live. I wanted to see the trees, hear the annoying birds chirp in the morning. I wanted to see it all, you know. And I had a mission to do it. And I think God had mercy on me there. And I blacked out then and there. But I felt as though I was in an operation room, like and some of God's best angels, like doctor angels, like I can't even speak. Some of God's best angels that were doctors, like operated on my throat, and like the next day I was healed, and everyone thought it was a miracle. you know, because I didn't. There was no infection. Went to go check it out. The doctors couldn't believe it themselves, and my mom also admitted to like seeing a little vision of like a hospital operating room in heaven or something. So that's why I'm spiritual. I believe in that stuff. And I mean, my mom, my dad, well, my dad left my life early, so right? My mom always had to work. Sometimes she worked 2 jobs, so it was always me and my siblings, and I had to raise them, you know? And I had to raise myself, more importantly. So that's what makes me spiritual. I've seen life. I've learned things. I know how to survive, you know? I lived in the Bronx, which is a pretty tough place to grow up, you know? And so I know how to live because I taught myself what is good and what is evil. So that's where I get my principles, from my own self. Of course, my mom did chip in some advice here and there where she had the chance. I mean, I don't blame her for anything, but life I had to learn on my own, the hard way. So that's what makes me who I am. My question is, what are you in college for, and what do you want to do for your career? That's a funny one. Okay, I'm in college for psychology and philosophy. So what I want to do, this might sound really strange, but I want to understand who my grandmother is. This is like one of the main reasons. I want to understand who I am, of course, and who other people are, but mainly for my grandma. Because my grandma is a savage. She's a beast. She's from the Dominican Republic, and like, she's like from that era of like 1700s, where like, you know, like women are not treated fairly, and everyone's all like brutes and savages. And so she has that mentality, and even though she's been in America for 6+ years, her mind has not been assimilated into the culture of American life. And I want to understand why that is. It's like, well, she's really old, so I'm like, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I'm familiar with that idiom, but I mean, it's crazy because you would expect 6+ years, you would at least get some kind of sense of how to live, but she doesn't. And I find that really interesting. You know, I'm almost glad that she's not, you know, Americanized, because I get to understand more when I study her. You know, I want to do like an in-depth analysis on her brain. Okay, Van089 asks, what series was your favorite series? And if that's changed, what is it now? Favorite series. I can't really know. That question's a little vague because series as in like anime, music, movies, games. I don't know. I'm gonna assume you mean games, Mr. Van. But if it's games, I'm gonna say Baten Kaitos. That's gonna be me. If someone asks this question later on, like what's your favorite game, it's gonna be Baten Kaitos. So, and it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change. Trust me, it will not. And there's a big reason for that. I'm sure I saw a question earlier this week about something like that, and I'm gonna answer it when the time comes. Mario or Mari Zero Man asks, how did you become a fan of Toho, and what do you like most about it? Okay, that's a good question. I'm glad somebody asked a Toho question. Okay, I got into Toho in 1999, right? It was a long time ago. Okay, that's when I first played Lotus Land Story. Okay, I had a friend of mine. He was a Japanese friend. His name is Jun, right? But not June as J-U-N. June as J-U-N-E. Go figure. I don't know. But right, Japan like apparently made this Toho thing in 1996, and I don't know if because my friend June usually goes to Japan every summer, so you know I still had to call him. I have not talked to him in a year or so, but he brought back like a whole disc full of Toho stuff, and one of them was Lotus Land Story. And then when he wrote that on the disc, I was like, Lotus Land Story, that sounds really unique, you know? LLS. I don't know why it did to me, but I was like, this, I have a connection with this. I feel strong resonance within this. So I said, hey, can I borrow that? Like, can I borrow that and take it home? And he's like, sure. You know what this is? That's some Danmaku, some stupid name, Japanese shit. And I was like, oh, what the heck is that? He's like, oh, it's just one of those shoot 'em up games. And I was like, shoot 'em ups? He's like, yeah, you know, like what's that game called? Raiden? And I was like, oh, really? I love those kind of games. And, you know, I used to play a lot of R-Type. One of my biggest life accomplishments is that I beat Super R-Type on hard mode. But I've never been able to beat R-Type 3 on hard mode. That's my life mission, beat that game in hard mode. But I love those kind of games because I love shooters. Shoot 'em ups. Or side-scroller shoot 'em ups especially. But then when I heard about Touhou and all this, I was like, this is great. So then once I played Lotus Last Story, I got wrecked. I was like, I've never played a game this difficult. So eventually I beat it and I brought it back to my friend June, and he's like, hey, why don't you try this one? It's the first game in the series. And it's like, I was like, what's it called? And he's like, Highly Responsive to Prayers. I was like, oh, that sounds really good too. I was like, all these names are great. So I was like, let me borrow it. And it took me like months to beat that one. I was like, oh my god, dude. So, you know, and then I forgot all about Touhou because June and I went different ways when we went to like high school and different high schools, and then we went to college and things got a little different. But right, 2002, was it 2002? No, 2003. Right. No, 2003. I started, like, I don't remember what, I remember that I remembered something, but I don't remember what it was. So back in 2003, what was it that triggered it? I'm trying to remember. Because I learned about Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. It must have been somewhere on the internet. Or was it on the internet? You know, I'm trying to remember. I can't. I'm sorry, I cannot. But I remember 2003, I learned about Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, but I didn't get to play it. Not until like 2007 is when I really got into Touhou like hardcore. You know? And I was a really closet Touhou fan. Like, I didn't want people knowing that I was a Touhou fan because I was ashamed to admit that I like little girls running around shooting things and talking garbage and all that. Come on, man. It makes sense. Like, you know, I'm from the ghetto. You know, no one wants to hear about shit like that. No one. Someone will get beat up for something like that. You know, and I didn't want to start any trouble. So I kept that information to myself. Not even my closest friends knew. So only me and my bro knew about that. So I used to play a lot of Touhou. After 2007, I started downloading these things, burning them into discs, and then just playing them. Especially the PC98 games, I loved them. But then I got into the newer Touhou games, and I was like, this is great. And I've never been good at Touhou. Like, I can do cool things every now and then, but it's just, I don't play it, like, a lot. I only play it sparingly whenever I'm in the Touhou mood. Like, I'm almost always in the Touhou mood, like, music-wise, but not game-wise. You know, that's very specific. I had to be like, you know what? I feel like playing some motherfucking Touhou today, man. And I pop in a disc or something, and then I play it. So, right? That's the whole Touhou story, you know. I didn't, like, okay, after 2007, I started getting big into Touhou, but I didn't really start exploring myself deeply until I got into the whole Ron fad. And, you know, the whole, anything that involves Ronald McDonald. Ronald McDonald, I love that guy. I wish I could fucking marry Ronald McDonald. Like, seriously, anyone that makes me laugh that much, I just want to spend the rest of my life with that person. Like, seriously, that guy is fucking hysterical. Like, the little things that they do on the internet with the Ron Roo and that little side thing he does. Oh my god, they're just so hysterical, dude. I just makes me laugh for hours. So, and then when I saw the Scarlet, like the Flanders Scarlet version of that, I died of laughter. I was like, okay, I love this. I'm gonna get back into Touhou, and I don't care who finds out about it. I just love this shit. So, right, and that's when I really got into Touhou, like, big. So that's the story. My god, this is gonna take like an hour. I'm sorry. Okay, which part am I up to? Okay, Yuris 00. It's like, oh man, 23 questions. Okay, let's marathon them. Okay, 1. Will you please show us your game collection? I ask others the same question. They say later, but never do it and blow me off. Well, I'm going to answer your question right. I'm going to show you my game collection. Okay, let's start first with PS2, because all these games I have here are not even close to half of what I have back home, and those games belong to my bro, not me. I only have very few games. Okay, let's start with PlayStation 2s. First of all, I have an Action Replay Max for the PlayStation 2. Actually, you know what? Because I can't. Let me see the camera. I have Action Replay Max for PS2. Oh, I have a CD of the Soundgarden Telephantasm. I have to listen to that. So, I have Action Reaper Max. What else do I have? I have Roddy Other Stories. As you guys know, I'm going to be doing that. Actually, I've already recorded 3 episodes of this with Sally. Okay? But it's not going to come out for a while. I have Star Ocean 3 to the end of time. I have 3 copies of this. I have like 2 more copies back home. I love this game.